making quite the mess here. So it's the middle of June as I record this. Things are starting to open up again, but not really feeling that confident going on my regular toy hunts like I used to. You know, the last 3 months have gone really comfortable staying at home for the most part. So, you know, why not rearrange parts of my toy room? Admittedly, it's long overdue, and I could have done it months ago when nothing was open, but I wasn't quite in the headspace for it back then. But now that I can actually afford new display cases, it makes it a little easier. But there's one collection in particular that I want to move and rearrange and curate. It's also just an excuse to have a closer look at my Batman collection. Right now, my Batman collection exists in 3 different sections. The first is in the main cabinet. The other is the quarter scale collection, and also the Batmobile and Batcave playset, which are too large to place on those shelves anyway. Now, I normally prefer wood veneer bookcases. They're cheap, they can display a lot of items, and that's how I actually started. I had a spare bookcase, I decided to use that to display my toys, and it kind of grew from there, and I just kept up with it because it's cheap. Also, I love the warmth of the fake oak veneer. But in this case, I decided to go with these metal framed or industrial bookcases, primarily because of how open the display is. There's no backing, there's no sides. I didn't want to obscure the curtains. Now, these windows aren't being used, but at the same time, I wanted that color to come through, and also I didn't want to hide away all the dust that potentially builds up back there. This room has minimal dust anyway. You kind of want to minimize that in the first place. These bookcases are actually from Cheap as Chips for only $69. Nice. Everyone has their own preferences, solutions, but for me it's about affordability. And again, going for the warm look of the oak, I just love that for displaying my toys. Installing the LEDs, pretty straightforward by now for me. When you've done it enough times, you know how to do it. You know how to hide the crimes, hide all the wiring, and yeah, I think it turned out really, really well. Growing up in the 80s, Batman was my very first superhero. Has been a favourite since then, and I kind of want to bring all that together in a single cohesive display. Now that everything's set up, let's start shifting things over. Let's start from the beginning, shall we? I grew up in the 80s, so my first exposure to Batman was the 1966 television series starring Adam West and Burt Ward. You'll soon discover that a lot of the stuff of Batman that I love actually comes from moving media more so than the comics, and this is where it all started. Unfortunately, anything from that era that I had Batman related is probably long gone. But in recent years, Mattel, as well as Nika Toys, have released wonderful versions of the 66 Batman, riding that wave of nostalgia that everyone is on right now. This Batmobile, in particular, used to retail for about $100 Aussie. A few years later, I stumbled across this on Gumtree for about $20. A parent was decluttering their kid's collection. In any case, yeah, the 66 portion of the collection is very small. I am hoping to find the replica that Diamond Select made of the Shakespeare bust. They flipped open their head and they used to open the entrance to the Batcave. I would love one of those replicas, but I need to find an affordable one first. So it's so stupid, but I want it. Yeah, so I still have a bit of a soft spot for this series. I love it.
I want you to tell all your friends about me.
What are you?
I'm Batman.
So I reckon I had just turned 7 years old when Tim Burton's Batman hit the cinemas here in Australia. And after growing up on the Adam West series, that film blew my tiny little mind. And this here is actually the Batmobile that I've had since that time. I've never gotten rid of it. I can't figure out why I still have it either, apart from the fact that it's kind of cool. Like, everything else I've thrown out, or at least I thought I did. There's a video that kind of counters that memory. But for whatever reason, this just still existed around the house. It was just there. And what's really amazing about it, it still has the vacuum-formed armor, if you will. Hey, check that out. Do these still open? Yes, but unfortunately the rockets were long gone now. It's just absolutely beautiful. And so yeah, this is my original from that era. So it's this Kenner 89 Batmobile and a few other of the die-cast vehicles, including the Batwing, that I still had since I was a kid. Everything else that I've gathered from that period are either replacements for what I had, including the Joker and the Riddler figures, or things that I've found since then, or been gifted as well. This exclusive Comic-Con Hot Wheels Batmobile display, which I still haven't figured out how to display that yet, so that's why it's sitting there the way it is. And of course, as you'll see later, the quarter-scale 89 Batman and Michelle Pfeiffer's Catwoman from Batman Returns. Sorry, distracted by my shelf.
You get those wonderful toys.
It was all a lie. There's nothing wrong with you.
Nice of you to say, but you of all people should know there's plenty wrong with me. Nobody serenades you but me, Bats. Take it away, boys. Take me on home to the asylum. Never alone in the asylum. Anarchy ruled, it was wild, but through it all you never smiled. Joke's on you, I'm in your head, so look who's laughing now. Remembering all.
Next shelf down, and we're going to be skipping an era just for the moment, and talking about my most recent favourite Batman incarnation, the Arkham video game series, starting with Arkham Asylum, Arkham City, and Arkham Knight. Yeah, very long bow for that last one. The first two games were co-written by Paul Dini, so they take their cues from the Batman animated series. These games feel like a distillation of what worked in the 90s cartoon series. Oh, yeah, and the toys, god damn. I gotta admit, I came late to the party when it came to some of these toys, especially these deluxe ones. He's a big bastard, Clayface. These deluxe figures, sometimes I'm fortunate to get the mint in pack, and very cheap as well, but they go for insane amounts. For instance, Joker here actually goes for about, I don't know, $200 to $300 mint in pack. Clearly I did not pay that. This one was about, less than $50 at auction. Why? Because his leg's broken. Clayface's arm is broken there, so I got him for a similar price. That's what I do. I get broken toys if it's something like I can repair, or in this case just sort of blue tack back together and hold him up with a doll stand. Yeah, I'm perfectly happy with that, especially if it's in my collection. So, but look at him. He's so bloody cool. Ooh, don't jiggle. We're not quite done yet. This one's a really cool one. Oh wow. Even his chains jingle jangle. Yeah, that'll do for now. I've still got plenty more figures to hunt down to complete this collection. Well, I say complete. There's a few that I don't care for, so I'm just going to get the characters I like. Doing the hover hand as if I'm at a convention. I have a few Origins figures, but Arkham Origins isn't exactly my favourite. It's sort of like, whatever. So they're not on here, except I do have the Grapnel launcher, which I think is pretty cool. Yay! Almost forgot. Ooh. We're not done yet. I don't often bother with hot toys. Sometimes some retailers cannot get rid of them and they're heavily discounted. End of year sales, Christmas sales, Boxing Day sales. I don't regret that one. He's not terrible, but he's not great either. But the Joker? Oh, I've got something else.
There's nothing like a comeback in the bat. Let's go again.
Oh wait, just one more thing.
I am vengeance. I am the night. I am Batman.
Too old for that. And here we are, Batman the Animated Series. By far my favourite incarnation of the Caped Crusader. Like everything else back then, everything was supposed to be dark. But this struck the right tone, I reckon, between the dark, mature storytelling, as well as the fact that it's made for a younger audience. Yeah, to this day, Kevin Conroy is my favourite Batman, alongside Mark Hamill being my favourite Joker. I never really collected a lot of animated series stuff back in the day, so all this is very much a catch-up. You've got the more recent releases here, of course, and they're bloody fantastic, as well as some of the vintage 90s figures. I stumble upon them. $5 each or something like that, so whether it be at Savers or a Sunday market, and I'll just pick one up. That Batcave is bloody beautiful, by the way. Got it for half price. Same with the Batmobile, which is still my favourite version of the vehicle. I don't know, there's something so insane and over the top about it, despite the sleek, simple lines. My recommendation with Mondo figures is to really shop around. Their quality has improved over time from figure to figure. It seems like it's very incremental improvements. This one's okay, it has a few issues. I love it overall, but yeah, sometimes that original release price point, it does put you off. So again, shop around. Mr. Freeze has been one of my favourite Batman villains ever since the animated series, so yeah. And now finally, the quarter scale figures. I've expressed time and time again how much I love the NECA quarter scale range. Absolutely fell in love with them when they released the quarter scale 1990 movie Ninja Turtles. And of course, they're more affordable than a high-end 1/6 scale, but they also have more detail. They feel like a giant action figure with the way they're constructed. But being the larger size, they're also quite heavy, and that ends up being a problem for collectors. There are a number of ways to solve that problem. As I covered in another video, some assholes tend to glue the ankles of their figure in place because the weight is too much for some of those tinier ankles. Others have used these types of laser cut MDF stands, and in a really paradoxical way, they're both overkill and not substantial enough, which is very weird, kind of useless. So my solution, simple doll stands. Yes, let's get over ourselves, fellas. Doll stands. I mean, these are essentially giant dolls. Let's not beat around the bush. In most cases, if you get a large enough doll stand, they can fit around the waists of the more petite characters here. But there is a concern the stand might scratch the plastic, and that's quite understandable. So, you know, you adjust it, you bend it to make it fit. The alternate solution, and I have two of them, one is to actually extend the large ones long enough and just to have it hold the head in place. And there's just enough pressure there to kind of keep it upright. The second solution, and it's actually used on the big fella here. Ooh. If you run out of these doll stands, which I actually get from Savers for like $2 or $3 each, but if you do run out of the larger ones, the regular size ones are suitable for some figures like this, like the big boy here from Arkham Knight. Have it wrap around one leg, and now you've already got a larger footprint for one of the legs. That Batman there is actually quite stable enough on his own anyway, because he's got giant boots. You can never be too careful. So I've more or less completed the transfer over from one cabinet to the new cabinet, but I've still got a lot left packed away, and this is just the stuff I can access. There's more in storage. Yeah, nah, that for a joke. There's plenty I still haven't gone through, still plenty I haven't opened. This is probably going to stay in the pack. Batman Returns wristwatch. I was talking about Mr. Freeze before. Here's a mint in pack animated series one. I was so happy I got this for as cheap as I did. The Grey Ghost. A couple each bought one not knowing the other had bought it too, so they got rid of the second one, and wow, yeah, paid peanuts for this. I'm not normally a fan of the Play Arts figures. I found this Harley Quinn at a Sunday market. But yeah, there's so much to still go through. But yeah, for the time being, I'm pretty proud of how that looks. Oh wait, I forgot one more thing.
Take it away, boys. Take me on home to the asylum. Never alone in the asylum. Anarchy ruled, it was wild, but through it all you never smiled. Joke's on you, I'm in your head, so look who's laughing now. Remember in Arkham City, I killed your girl, so pretty. That was the night you let me die. But when I looked you in the eye, that's when I knew we'd be together. Look who's laughing now.
That's beautiful.
I'm stuck in your head.
I love it. Oh, it feels so good. It feels so good to just get it all done. Shit. Yeah. I've still got quite the mess to get through, eh? Might have to make it into a thing. Might have to make it into a thing.
Now
Fuck.
I'm out of you. I am the clown, prince of crime. And we've had a hell of a time. You're part of me, I'm part of you. And now there's nothing left to do. I just can't wait till I'm in control. Who'll be laughing